LeBron, AD brought a championship to LA, but repeating is going to be even tougher. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. A lot of that to this team, but certainly some big additions, some big losses. Let's take a deep dive into their roster, show you what to expect from the Los Angeles Lakers this season. Dennis Schroeder, one of those big acquisitions, was the Super Six man for Oklahoma City. Obviously, big-time scorer, shooter, best three-point season of his career last season, 38.5%. His ankle limited him in the preseason, but he's a super gifted scorer, obviously. I think he starts, especially given how much that seemed to mean to him, and he didn't take kindly to the notion that he might come off the bench again, but certainly could be the sixth man if they're able to talk him into that. Very explosive, getting to the rim. One thing to keep an eye on, the loss of Rajon Rondo certainly will be felt in situations like this. Rondo and AD had such a good connection on the spin-out lobs. Schroeder's a capable passer, but not quite as gifted as Rondo. Obviously, he's one of the greatest of all time, putting the ball exactly where it needs to be. Also is prone to some silliness. He's had some suspensions in the past for punching guys in the balls and things like that. So certainly in LA, in a big market, needs to keep his head on straight. Also struggled with that in his end of time in Atlanta. KCP is the sure starter at the 2-3, whatever you want to call it. He is obviously an elite knockdown shooter. He can create his own shot a little bit off the dribble, manages to get a whole bunch of four-point plays that way, and he is one of the more athletic guys in the team. He'll quick pop on some Bron pick and rolls and then also dive all the way to the basket off the dribble. He's also an athlete that'll get out and run for Bron's outlets in transition, and a pretty capable finisher at the basket. Also a high motor player, gets some offensive rebounds that way. He's probably the best defender on the team as well, besides Anthony Davis. Definitely the best wing defender overall. This was pretty much perfect textbook technique. As you see, the pick and roll develop. He's got to split the difference between Kawhi and Beverly. Does a great job reading that perfectly for the steal. Really high IQ on that end. LeBron James, maybe you've heard of him. He said he didn't touch a basketball in the 2 months since the bubble ended, and believe it or not, it showed just a little bit. I don't blame him at all. It was a super quick turnaround, way too quick, especially for the teams that were in the championship, almost obscenely quick, but it took him all about a quarter and a half or so to still almost get back to his old self. So he's the GOAT in my opinion for a reason. Just unbelievably gifted in so many different ways. Can get to his own spot for the fadeaway, looks like, even more so. But again, you certainly saw glimpses of not really being in 100% game shape. I don't know what that pass was, and then Bridges is going to gift him an airballed layup, but then Bron is going to look like the Monstars took his superpowers and blow the layup himself. Really quick turnaround again, but still knocking down his spot-up shots. Still will show you glimpses of this in the post, so give it a week or two maybe for him to work himself back to 100%. But obviously, when fully locked in and in shape, he's still a top 3 player in the league, and he might not be 2 or 1. Defensively, he's obviously not going to be 100% motor all the time, but when he is locked in, he's still one of the best players in the league on that end. Look at him blow up, deny that whole possession, be aggressive, but that is one thing. He does gamble a little bit too much, which leads to some open threes. Anthony Davis, obviously the starting 4. They will throw it. This is pretty much their main offense. They just throw the ball ahead to him on the left block. LeBron can make that pass from like 100 feet away, and on that left block, he's virtually unstoppable. Only played parts of the 2 preseason games against Phoenix. Both him and LeBron skipped the Clippers, got absolutely scorching in the final game, which is a good sign that he's pretty much still in that playoff form. 35 points, 6 made threes, 3 blocks in that last game of the preseason. Obviously, I said mostly left block, but he could do it from both. Elite spot-up shooter. How many bigs in the league could hit this 3 off a side ball screen in transition, fake dribble handoff into a step back, side step at the buzzer? I mean, his bag, he's showing you all of it. He can score pretty much every single way. And then, like we said, elite rim protector as well. Big-time shot blocker. Not just inside, but also on the perimeter. Marc Gasol comes over from Toronto, and I think will most likely start at the 5, maybe only play 12, 15 minutes, kind of like that JaVale role In the playoffs for Toronto, he really showed signs of aging. He only averaged 6 points per game and shot 19% from three. In the regular season, though, he was 39%. Still one of the best passing bigs in the league. That's the skill that'll definitely translate, and it's a new dynamic that neither Dwight or JaVale could really do for them. It lets them play out of this delay set a whole bunch more with the five. Handling the ball up top lets them utilize their youth, their cutters that way. And again, he reads the floor almost like a Jokic in a way. If he came around a few years later, maybe he would have played a little bit more of that style instead of the grit and grind, but he is an unbelievably high IQ player, passer. Got a little bit of a post game. This is kind of his preferred move. It's a little bit of a touch fade away, but also has occasional bouts of extreme softness at times, which Toronto Raptors fans will probably tell you. I don't know if he even hit anything on this layup, maybe a little bit of the rim, but something to keep an eye on, and again, just to see how much his age is going to impact him, because he's certainly probably in his last year or two. But good job taking the charge there. Certainly a willing team defender. Montrezl Harrell comes over from the Clippers. He's great as a roll man. Good floater, good finisher, explosive around the basket. Not the tallest guy in the world, but he makes up for it with a relentless motor. Also a huge impact on the offensive glass. He will follow almost every drive and follow it up at the rim with dunks. And if he can't get a dunk right away, he also powers it up quickly with pretty good jump hooks. Also got a little bit of post game, prefers to face you up. Kind of envisions himself as a little bit of a shooter that way. He's not going to take threes, but he can make the face-up jumpers out of this jab type stuff. Just got to hope he doesn't fall in love with it, because it's probably not a super high percentage shot. Definitely prefer when he does stuff like this, facing you up, using his speed to get to the rim quickly, or deep sealing you here in transition, and again, going quickly to that left shoulder, which he prefers. Defensively, Clippers fans will certainly have some qualms with him. He's not perfect by any means on that end, but it does feel to me like he was scapegoated a little bit for their playoff failures. I do think he's capable on that end. Not going to make the perfect rim decision every time on these pick and rolls, but this stuff's really hard. You got to stop the ball, but to not let your guy get behind you at all is not an easy job. Here he does a great job stunting at the ball, but still staying between his man at the basket, making the ball handler think about it, but ending up getting a great block out. That's the stuff he has to improve, because the Clippers' defensive rebounding certainly was not great with him on the floor. Also, a good shot blocker, so he's not the best rim protector in the world, but he does block some shots. And overall, if you look at his defensive impact stats, they're not quite as bad at all as the Clippers fans would have you believe. Certainly, again, a high motor player. Will also take a whole bunch of charges. He is not afraid. He is one of the league leaders in that most seasons. Super selfless on that end. Overall, Wes Matthews, 36.5% three-point shooter in the regular season for Milwaukee. He is 34 years old, though, so we'll have to see if he shows any signs of aging even more than he has. Not going to create a tremendous amount, but he is a high IQ basketball player who's obviously been doing this for a long time. Also, in my opinion, a really underrated defender. Will take charges like those other guys, but made a tremendous impact in Milwaukee last season. Guarded the toughest player pretty much every night, the toughest wing scorer. You see him taking a charge on Booker there. Another guy, not an acquisition, but basically feels like one. The star of the preseason, Talen Horton-Tucker. THT was unbelievable. Only played 6 games last season. In the preseason, though, he averaged 20 a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Got a little bit of a chicken wing to get his shot off, but look at this. Hezzy, pull-up 3. I mean, he's got a little bit of an old man game, but he is just super effective. Got a nice step back, gets to his spot, super smooth stroke. He's got really long arms. That step back, creating his own shot off the dribble. Reads the floor well, plays a little bit of that point forward. They can almost run him as the backup point guard at times. Reads the floor really well, plays out of the pick and roll well. Very creative playmaker. Definitely a super high basketball IQ, which is no doubt why LeBron approves of him so strongly. You see the chicken wing a little bit there to push off of Batum. Gets away with it, though, into the floater, where he's pretty damn good as well. Again, not the greatest athlete in the world. Doesn't play with unbelievable pace or anything, but he makes up for that with a high skill level, great touch finishes around the basket. You can tell he does a lot of miking work because he's got phenomenal spin on a variety of different finishes. This one super tough. Almost all his finishes in the preseason were unbelievable. He really had a game, the 33-point game, where he was like the preseason Michael Jordan, little running hook here. So certainly big expectations for him this season. I think he can definitely play a valuable wing role off the bench. Might even be a better fit for them right now, to be honest, than Kyle Kuzma is. That might be a little controversial, but I do think he is more of a team fit, obviously much more of a passer, ball handler than Kuzma is, and I think just fits better into, being a secondary player, being the, fifth best guy on the floor at times, but definitely being able to create some stuff, run some offense, play some pick and roll, get to the rim for that inside hand finish, keep his man on his back in the pick and roll like you see here. Great finish again at the basket. This kid's big time. I'm definitely a fan of his game. I think he is not a fluke. He will definitely be a rotation piece this season, even has all-star potential down the line. Good defender as well, good strips guy. Like most of these guys, comes over to take charges. Thanks for watching. If you're wondering where Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, Caruso, Quinn Cook, Jared Dudley, there's a 10-plus minute bonus video right here, patreon.com/ScoutWithBryan. Just click that link, subscribe over there. You'll unlock that. Couldn't fit it all in this video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you thumb up and subscribe. Head over to Patreon to get that bonus.